For most of his long life, Allen de Hart has been walking, actually hiking, from one end of North Carolina to the other, from the mountains to the coast, and most everywhere in between, wherever our state's extensive network of hiking trails calls him. More often than not, we find him walking behind his measuring wheel, whose insistent clicks are no doubt music to the ears as he steps off the miles on North Carolina's Mountains to the Sea Trail that runs through 37 counties and still is in the process of being built.
We're working on the East Coast, and we're working in the mountains and continuing to work here in the middle of the state. This is the Durham area in here, and this is the route that we are working on today. We have finished about 500 miles out of the total expected, somewhere between 930 and 950 and maybe even 1,000 miles.
Well, welcome to another Falls Lake Work Day.
This morning, between 60 and 70 volunteers have gathered in the Triangle to cut a 2 to 3 mile trail through the pine woods.
Today we started where not anything had been done except the flagging, and that's been done over the years to be sure that we were within the boundary line of Corps of Engineers.
The Corps, for those of you who don't know, actually own and manage this land, and then much of it is leased to the state. So we've worked with the state, with several counties, and of course with you guys as the great group that you are, to get this trail where it is today.
My suggestion is everybody take 2 tools. Take a fire rake and a digging tool or a lopper. It's thick, folks. It's really thick in there.
If you leave stuff there, it will grow back sooner.
No trees have been cut or anything. There's lots of briars.
Nothing's unconquerable. We got men, we got tools.
In 1996, 97, I started recognizing that the Mountains to the Sea Trail may never be built if we don't have more volunteers doing the work. Because the Division of Parks and Recreation did not have a budget of funding, we formed the Friends of the Mountains to the Sea Trail, and that is a nonprofit organization then would be able to recruit volunteers and have the trail constructed to follow from park to park, forest to forest, going through towns and maybe some cities, but where possible to be a foot trail in the wilderness.
And it's going to be a trail of tomorrow. One probably that's going to last as long as anything else lasts. It'll be a permanent trail, and we're all excited about this.
Allen de Hart seems to have been born to this task. As a Virginia farm boy, he grew up walking old roads and backwoods trails, and at only 9 or 10 was a water boy for Civilian Conservation Corps workers building the Appalachian Trail along the Blue Ridge Parkway. Give him practically any excuse, and he'll have his hiking shoes on and out the door.
As of today, we've had 15 who have hiked or hiked and biked across the state. Took Allen household and myself 2 months and 11 days to do the hiking part. But we probably have more than 4,000 or 5,000 who are just hiking sections or pieces of it.
The Mountains to the Sea Trail intersects with other well-traveled trails along the way, including the Appalachian Trail and a number of North Carolina trails.
I'm on my way to Bald Knob, doing some remeasuring of the Mountains to the Sea Trail. It needs to be checked on occasionally, since we sometimes have to revise a short piece of it.
If a dependable mountain spring needs to have an accumulation of leaves cleaned out, Allen is game. Or perhaps a tree needs to be cleared away.
And that big pine, killed probably by a pine beetle, we needed to cut it out for safety reasons. I hate to see anything in the trail.
Soon he'll be out of sight, the ever-present clicks of his measuring wheel fading into the background hush of the mountain forest, where rhododendron laurel, and even some hopeful but inevitably blighted chestnut sprouts may be seen beside the trail, waiting quietly for the next hiker to come by and appreciate them. The Bald Knob Trail, with its 36 or so switchbacks, is tough going for many, but all in a day's climb for a man who's hiked more than 56,000 miles measuring trails for as many successful guidebooks.
My cardiologist said to me one day, what keeps you healthy and young at 82 years old? I said, one is that I've taught 52 years as a professor in a college. If nothing more, it makes me feel young, and I have to try to act young. And I said the other is, I seem to have this obsession is to get out and walk a trail. Here we have finally reached Bald Knob. My reading is 16,188 feet from where we started on Old Forest Road.
From way up here, you ought to be able to see the future. And if Allen de Hart has anything to say about it, and of course he does, it will be a future with nearly 1,000 miles of trail completed. From Clingman's Dome in the Smokies, through the Piedmont, Sandhills, and Coastal Plain, all the way to Jockey's Ridge State Park on the Outer Banks, where the Mountains to the Sea Trail ends atop the East Coast's tallest sand dune.
If anybody mentions a trail, I want to know where it is. And if it hasn't been hiked, I will. And measure it if possible.